right. Well, welcome to another edition of the Alden Report. My name is Michael Alden. We are here in Blue Vase Studios. I'm really excited to talk to my next guest. She is the owner and co-founder of wickedartbar.com. It's a facility that does some really, really fun stuff. She brings people in like myself that doesn't really know what they're doing in the art world and kind of shows us how we can be creative, and it's a fun environment. I've checked it out myself. I haven't actually been there and done it, but I've heard people that have been there, and they've had a lot of fun, and her story is really, really interesting. So, Renee, thank you for being my guest. Renee Gannon?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you for being my guest. So, what we like to do is have a series of questions that I'm going to ask you, and sometimes we go off topic, so just kind of see how it goes, all right?
Sounds good.
Sounds good? All right, awesome. So one of the first questions I like to talk to entrepreneurs like yourself was, one of the first questions I like to ask is, how do you define success?
That's a really good question. I feel like success is, a lot of people want to measure it with like money or power or status, and I think that's great, but I think at the end of the day, success is really, like, are you doing what you love? Are you standing behind your values? Are you sort of just doing, your best self and working really hard and feeling proud of the work that you're putting out and giving back in some way to like the community or, people and just in general life?
Sure.
It's not always about how much money you make, although the money, I feel like the money will follow if you kind of get to that point where you're, you feel good about the work you're doing, you're proud, you've, made strides, you work really hard, and then the success comes, and that's sort of everything when everything falls into place.
You know what? I couldn't agree with that any more than what you just said. I think that is one of the best ways to define it, because I think in this world we get caught up, and that's why I asked the question. When I think of success, or when other people think of success, they have different definitions of what it is, and your definition is one that I think people really need to understand. It's again, loving what you do and enjoying it, and really ultimately, I think kind of what you're saying is being happy. Right?
Yes.
And then everything else kind of falls into place. Yeah. And I think it's difficult in this day and age where we see, this uber success, or sometimes we think people have these overnight successes and they're making all this money and they got all these things. But a lot of times people really kind of love what they're doing. And like you said, the money just follows if that's what you want. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's what I really, that was a great answer. So you've been in business for a while. Your background is interesting. So you own an art studio and an art facility. Again, it's a really, really cool place. But you weren't. Were you an art major?
No, I wasn't an art. I mean, I've been like immersed in the arts my whole life.
Yeah.
I just had, my mom was really creative growing up. She always put me in art classes. I loved, art in school.
Sure.
But I also loved animals, so I sort of took a different path when I got out of school that wasn't art. But I think part of it was like you're just so ingrained, especially growing up, like you just hear over and over, like you can't live as an artist. You can't like make a career out of art. Like
Sure.
It's really hard, and I think society tells you like, a lot of times. I feel that's changing now more.
Right.
But I think more as I was growing up, like I sort of just learned that you couldn't really do much with art. You could do it as like a hobby, but you couldn't like make a career out of it.
Right.
So
because you hear with the starving artists and that kind of stereotype. I mean, a lot of it's kind of real too. But
it is, yeah.
But
so I guess it's tough to like at that point in my life to see myself going in like an artistic direction. I just know I loved doing it, but I didn't know like what kind of career I could possibly make out of art.
Okay. So that brings me into the question. That's why I kind of gave you that pre-question is, what is, and I think you almost maybe kind of answered, what is your biggest professional obstacle and how did you overcome it?
Well, it's an interesting question. I went to school for, I got my degree in zoology.
Right.
And that was, based a lot on, like, I've always had a love of animals.
Sure.
Growing up. And for a long time, I really thought I was going to grow up and be an exotic animal trainer.
Sure.
That was, like, the career path that I had in my mind. I found a great program at UNH. I went to school for zoology. I loved the degree I got. I learned so much. I minored in animal behavior and psychology, so there was a lot of interesting overlap there. And then I got out and I was like, what the hell am I going to do now? Like,
Right.
I took some lab jobs and kind of hated it and was like, and then I found a program in California that was for animal training. So I moved out there to get into that program. But in order to get into school, I had to, save up a little money. So I actually took a job with an organic baby food company that was a startup out there as their website editor.
Okay.
And I just sort of, I had a minimal background in like that area, but I convinced them to hire me.
Right.
And, and I learned a lot about startups and new business, and I was thrown into this world of graphic design and marketing and business development and all this learning that was sort of really interesting to me, and I'd never really considered it as a career path. So,
Right.
I was saving money for this animal training job, but then I started to like fall in love with the job that I was doing, and suddenly I felt like maybe I'm on a completely different career path.
Right. So was it? So I guess so. Really, was it was the difficult obstacle, so to speak, for you to take that leap from, hey, I love zoology, I love animals, but I also love art, and I feel like I'm passionate about it, and I'm just gonna maybe put this aside that I went to college for, and everyone thought I was going to do, and I'm going to do this because I love it. Was that a difficult decision for you to make?
Yeah, I
Especially since you
definitely was.
moved from.
Well, yeah, I was out there to go to this special school that they had out in Southern California, and I was conflicted for a long time because I was enjoying this new work and I found it really intriguing and I wanted to learn more about the possibilities. But then, there would be days where I'd flip flop and be like, maybe you should still try to apply to this school and go and
Right.
Explore the original path. So yeah, it was a tough decision, but ultimately I felt like I'm in this new area of work and I'm learning a lot, and I found that I was pretty good at it.
Right.
So I just after talking to people, getting advice from friends, mentors, they're saying, well, if you're good at it and you're enjoying it, then it's worth just following it for now.
Sure.
So that was sort of where I, what brought me into that whole world.
All right, that makes sense. Now, you obviously have a traditional education. You did graduate from UNH with a degree in zoology, you said. Now you're a businesswoman. You're out there again. You're growing a business, and a very successful one. Is traditional education important for business success?
I don't think so. I mean, I would say yes and no. I think it depends on the person.
Okay.
Which, I think, furthering your education is really dependent on the individual.
Okay.
At the end of the day, regardless of what they want to do. Some people just don't struggle with like more traditional learning, and other people really need it in order to like survive or get by or move forward.
Right.
So for me personally, like, at the end of the day, I loved college. I had a great experience. I learned a lot, maybe, and, not all the animal stuff might not be completely applicable, but a lot of it is,
Right.
There's crossover in everywhere. So I would say, would I have been where I am today if I hadn't gone to UNH and if I had just tried to launch a business right away? I don't know if I would have been able to be successful or as successful, and maybe I would have struggled not having some of those life experiences that I got from college.
Sure.
But I think that, at the end of the day, it's really up to the person.
Did you take any business classes? Because I know sometimes you have electives. Did you take any business classes at UNH, or just no?
No,
You didn't.
I took a drawing class.
Okay.
No, I didn't actually take any business classes. Looking back, I'm like, I wish I had taken like a marketing class or something.
Right.
It would have been kind of fun, but
Right.
no, I took
All
a
right.
lot of psychology and like primate behavior classes and stuff like that.
I think kind of for me, and just if I'm going to answer my own, ask and answer my own question. For me, I'm a lawyer by trade. I run a marketing company, and I practiced law for years, but I don't anymore. But when I look back on it and I ask myself that question, and I think you kind of answered it, it's the experiences that you have in college, that the non-tangible things that don't have anything to do with your grades, right?
Correct.
It's the social element. People, joke around, oh, the social element, but it's there. It's being able to, be on your own, being able to figure it out, And for me, because the reason why I asked that question, someone asked me this question in a very similar interview, and I thought a lot about it. But and I also think you're right. It also just depends on the person. If you want to do it, you should. If you don't want to do it, well, then maybe you shouldn't. So, and the good part about education that I found today, this day and age. I was talking to someone about this just recently. Is it's everywhere now. You get online right now and take a class if you so desire to get your bachelor's or whatever it is. But there's different forms of education that are out there. So again, you founded and own this great company. It's wickedartbar.com.
We say Wicked at Bar, by the way.
Wicked at Bar because we are in Massachusetts. I apologize. Would we spell it differently? No, we still spell it the same way. Wicked at Bar. I try not to show my Massachusetts accent or our Massachusetts accent. We both grew up in the same town, so right here in Beverly, Massachusetts. So, being an entrepreneur, and I talk a lot about this with entrepreneurs like yourself, and stress is something that permeates our society. They call it the silent killer. So many people are affected by it, and the prescription drugs and all these things are out there. People are taking to handle stress. But I've found, and I was just talking about this yesterday with someone, as an entrepreneur, we carry a burden that most people don't. And it's difficult sometimes. And I've had difficulty in my life, and to the point, I've said this before, the point where I just wanted to give up, just like curl up in a little ball and call it a day. But we can't because of who we are. So how do you handle stress? What do you do to kind of unwind and step back from the stresses of running a business?
I feel like I personally manage stress well. I think I always have.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm pretty good at like being able to just take a step back and do something that I know like I'll enjoy, even if it's like hanging out with my cats or watching a movie or spending time with my fiance
Sure.
or friends or just relaxing and putting my phone and my computer and everything away, just even for like a couple hours to just...
Do you consciously do that? Do you consciously put your phone and your computer away and just say, I'm not going to touch this? Because the reason why I ask is I have real trouble doing that.
I try. I mean, the computer is a little easier than the phone.
Right.
But, I try to, just because I know that it's necessary, and especially if I want to sleep at night.
Right.
Gotta get the screens away from my face.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think, I try to keep like a really positive frame of mind. I try to, I'm stressed right now and things are really hard, but, I know it's going to be better. It's okay. I can get through this. Like, take a deep breath. This is only temporary. It's always only temporary.
So you do consciously think about stuff like that. When you're going through a difficult period, you step back and say, all right, it's temporary. We can handle this. I can work through it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to, or else you lose your mind.
Well, that's why I ask, is because a lot of people do it, and I read a lot, and especially the business magazines, and Inc. magazine has had several articles about the stresses of an entrepreneur and how we sometimes don't handle it properly. We self-medicate, we drink, we do drugs, all these different things that people shouldn't do. But it's interesting. A lot of people kind of say what you said. Spend time with loved ones and friends, and just kind of literally put a wall up and just say, from now I'm just going to be in my personal life.
Yeah. Do things that like take my focus or my thoughts away. Even like painting, because it's like I get so focused. I'm such a detail-oriented person.
Right.
I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but for me, painting is like I get so focused on the process that I just forget everything else that's going on. Even if it's just like a couple hours, but
even though you run an art studio and you're painting all day long, you paint separately aside that just even because you love it.
Developing paintings for the art bar.
Right.
I mean, I don't find that stressful. I enjoy that process.
Right.
So for me, it never feels like work. That's not like the stressful part of the business.
Sure.
It's like coming up with the paintings. That's kind of like the fun part.
Right.
That's what I love to do. I love to make art. So
right.
To be able to do that and still enjoy it and find a little solace in it is great. It's
interesting. I talk to a lot of people and what I found is that if they really do love what they're doing, like you do, there's always going to be some sort of stress. But doing the business and being passionate about the business does help alleviate the stress. It's an interesting dynamic. If you could finish the sentence for me, if my company lacks blank, then we will not succeed. Heart. All right. What I love about this is everyone. And can you expand on that or expound on that? What do you mean by that?
I feel like once everyone stops caring, then it's over.
Okay.
So if my staff and me, myself, my business partner,
Right.
anyone that's invested, if they still care and they still believe in it,
Right.
then I feel like then we're doing something right. But
Right.
when people stop caring, they start going through the motions, they just, they don't have that the real passion for
Right.
it anymore, then I feel like that's when you
That's when you
get
start
into
to fail.
problems.
All right. You know what? That makes a lot of sense. I employ a lot of people in this day and age. Again, I always kind of preface this question with this. I see a lot of the millennials out there in this day and age that are having trouble. They're having trouble growing. They're having trouble succeeding, and they feel entitled to a certain degree, to a certain level of success that they haven't even worked for. So, as a young entrepreneur, what advice could you give young people in the workforce today on how to grow, whether they are a young business owner or whether they're just entering the workforce? What advice can you give them on how to grow as an individual in a business environment?
Don't be afraid to work your ass off.
Right.
And just put the time in now, because, it's easy to get lazy and slack off and procrastinate, but it's not helping anyone. Certainly you're not helping yourself.
Right.
So, to work hard, it will give you that sense of I earned this,
Right.
I really earned this, not just I expect this to be mine or I expect this success to fall in my lap, but to actually go out and put the extra effort in and go the extra mile and, do whatever you can to show that you want it.
Sure.
Because there's so many talented people out there. If you don't put the time in, you don't put the work in, somebody's going to come in and do it better.
Right. I love it.
Or work harder, There's
Right.
people out there that want to work really hard and want to get things done and want to be successful.
Sure. So you just can't sit back and wait for it to happen. 'Cause that's what I see happens. That a lot of people just waiting for it to happen. Even
and it's never going to happen if you wait.
If you wait, you got to go out and do it. I love it. Now, can you give me and our viewers and listeners a secret strategy or business technique that makes your company more efficient? And let me, again, just kind of expand on that. And what I mean by that is when I see, and even in my business and any business, one of the most difficult things to do is implement something, but also to implement it efficiently. So in other words, you can get it done. Do you have any sort of advice, or are there things that you do in your business in order to accomplish your goals efficiently?
Follow through is a big thing.
Okay.
Definitely. Put my money where my mouth is.
Do what you say you're going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think my staff sees that as well. If I work hard and I put the time in, they will want to as well.
Sure. So lead by example?
Yeah,
Right.
lead by example.
Right.
Try to just be positive for everyone, support everyone. We all work as a team as opposed to everyone's an individual, but it's more of an individual type business because it's just the instructor up there. But
Sure.
I want the instructor to know that we support them and their assistant supports them and
Sure.
we're all working together. And I don't know if that's a secret strategy.
No. I think it's important. The team environment thing is important, and every business runs differently. Everyone has different objectives and different cultures, but I think. The successful people that I talk to, like yourself, that have employees, it is definitely a team environment, an environment where everyone feels like they're together. And sometimes that's hard. Even with my business, I have 120, 150 employees, and sometimes it gets even more. And it's hard when you start to grow like that to maintain that sense of almost family. But that also when you have that, it does help your business grow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. In this day and age, your business that you run is an art studio where people come to you and actually physically create things. But in this day and age, what do you think is the best form of communication for your customers? How do you communicate with the customers? How do you get them? What are you doing to communicate with your customers?
For us, Facebook has been a really invaluable tool.
Okay.
Just because we're such what we do is so visual. So, any platform that allows me to have that visual element but also be able to like engage my customers and, target them appropriately.
What exactly do you do on Facebook? How do you target your customers?
I mean, if I'm running an ad for a specific painting, like I'll give you an example. We've had a very successful Doctor Who painting that we've run.
Big fan. You saw me. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah.
It's like the TARDIS and a vortex, and we've run it a couple times. So I can go on Facebook and like actually target people who are fans of Doctor Who that live within like a 10-mile radius of my studio.
Right.
Because not everyone likes or follows Doctor Who, but I know those people are definitely.
So what is it, like
Doctor
the
Who.
phone booth or something, or what?
It's the TARDIS kind of floating in like it's a cool vortex thing that I did.
So you target. So it's the targeted marketing that most people know. If you're in marketing, if you ever try to, you're really just going into that back office of Facebook and targeting people that like art, that are local, and maybe even talked about Doctor Who or something like that.
Yeah. That one was like a really specific one.
Right.
Some of them might be a little more broad. People
Right.
are just interested in like girls' nights out,
Right.
or like drinking wine or painting or whatever.
Are you able to, or do you spend time tracking that type of information? Do you know, for instance, like what particular words or things that you might say in an ad are more effective than others?
Yeah, the analytics are amazing.
Right.
That, Facebook offers, and a lot of these tools that have now
Right.
more robust analytics than they used to.
Right.
So it's like really, I have a very strong sense of like who our customers are,
Sure.
what they want. We have developed a pretty strong following on Facebook. We have almost 7,000 fans at this point.
Right.
And so, those tools are invaluable to
Sure.
me.
Okay. All right. The reason why I ask is I'm not that good at it. I mean, I feel like we are as a company, but I'm still trying to understand it myself. Now, if you could leave our viewers and listeners with one piece of advice in business that may be something that you do every day that has made you successful, whether it be a technique, a strategy, a thought process, whatever it is, if you could leave our viewers with one piece of advice in business, what would it be?
I think it would just be as simple as just don't give up.
Okay.
Because you're going to get knocked down a lot. There are days where I'm like, F this man, I'm done. But, that's
Right.
like a fleeting thought, and you have to say, you know what, today's a hard day. And
Sure.
I'm going to go to sleep tonight, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, it's a new day, and I'm going to get something new accomplished, and I'm going to put the struggle behind me and try to work out a solution and just keep at it, because you are your business,
Right.
So if you are the owner and you give up, then
Then the business fails.
Yeah, how is the rest of the business going to keep going? So
Right.
you just have to just keep at it. Don't give up. Don't let things get you down. It makes me think of that Chumbawamba song, I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Yeah.
I think that's about drinking, so.
Well,
but, like.
it could be whatever you want it to be.
You're going to take hits.
Right.
And they're going to feel really awful sometimes, but you just have to be able to, like, rise above it and move beyond it and hopefully learn something from it and be even a little stronger the next time around.
I think that's great you said that, and I love that you expanded on it too, because sometimes as a business owner, I'm sure people will see where you are and what you've accomplished, and they might think that you're not human, that that you don't feel that pain or that stress, but you do, but you're able to, like you said, just work through it, just get up. Just don't give up, right?
I think a lot of people think like the life of a business owner is like glamorous and there's
Right.
so many perks but there's a lot of struggles involved
Right.
that most people don't know about, and
Right.
it can be really hard at times, and it can feel lonely and
Right.
difficult, but at the end of the day it's what we live for.
Sure.
This is what we want to do, and this is what we love, and so it all makes it worth it, and so it makes the struggles seem not so hard at the end of the day.
Right. I love it. Now, before I let you go, tell us a little bit about, I kind of briefly talked about it. Tell us a little bit about Wicked Art Bar. It's, just how we say it, wickedartbar.com. And tell us a little bit about your business. What exactly do you do? How long you've been in business, and how can people find you?
Well, we are located on 95 Rantoul Street inside the historic Porter Mill building.
In Beverly, Massachusetts?
In Beverly, Massachusetts, yeah. We're, if you're heading towards Salem, we're not too far from the bridge. We do paint and sip classes. That's sort of like our core. which is, basically like a simplified step-by-step art class that's taught by an instructor.
Sure.
Everyone comes in, you pre-register on the website, you pick the painting you want to do, and that's the painting that is taught during that session.
Okay, so
everyone does the same thing.
They go to your website, they can pick a painting, schedule it.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Sign up, come in, we have everything all set up and ready to go. We provide all the supplies, we do all this, the setup and the breakdown. Usually sessions are like 2.5 hours. Instructor takes everyone through and sort of step by step. This is, the kind of brush you want to use. This is how you blend your colors. This is shapes to make, landscape look like this and that. And, and then at the end, you have a completed painting that, a lot of people have never come in, they've never painted before, and they leave with like an awesome completed painting that they can feel really proud about.
I've seen some of your stuff, and I look at it, and again, I can barely even write, and I look at it, and I've met people that have been to your place, and they're not artistic by any stretch of the imagination, but it's pretty awesome. The instructors must be really awesome to show people who aren't have any sort of artistic ability, but like you said, they can put together this really kind of cool painting they can put in their house. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really, really neat.
And we have a bar right in the studio. We have a beer and wine license, so we do have, if you want a glass of wine or a beer, take the edge off,
Oh, see, that's awesome. So I thought people brought their own. So you actually have a beer and wine license?
Yeah, we do have a beer and wine license.
Wow, good for you. And now, how long have you had that?
It's a little over 2 years now.
Okay,
yeah.
And was that a difficult process to go through to get that license?
Yep, it was, but it's at the end of the day, we got a license.
You just kept working for it. Oh.
Yeah, we made it happen. So, and I think people like that we have our own bar there, and it's kind of a nice little addition for us.
It's got to be great for the revenue for the business and everything else as well. Yeah,
and it's just cool. I think it adds to the space overall. Just because it's such a social thing. So
sure.
It's like it's not like the alcohol is the be-all, end-all of it.
Right.
But,
loosens people up, certainly.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Does. They say a little bit of alcohol can inhibit and release some of your creativity. So,
right.
We get a lot of anxious people that come in that anxious about painting because they haven't either done it in years or done it ever. A lot of people feel like, oh, I'm not an artist. I can't draw a straight line. But it's not about that. It's just it's more about the process.
Sure.
You get lost in the process. It allows you to sort of forget about your problems even for a couple hours. You spend some time with some friends. It's the whole experience of it, and not just about the end result.
Right. Well, I tell you, I haven't been in there yet, but I've definitely been interested in it. We talked a little bit earlier. I know you do stuff for kids as well, and I have a little girl. I'm definitely going to check it out. Again, we've been here today with Renee Gannon of Wicked Art Bar. It's wickedartbar.com, based in Beverly, Massachusetts. Again, we talk to real people doing real stuff. She's a real person doing real stuff and very, very successful at it. So I hope that you enjoy listening to this. Again, my name is Michael Alden. This is the Alden Report, and again, we're here in Blue Vase Studios, and we'll see you next time. Renee, again, thank you so much for being my guest. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it as well.
Love your story, and we'll see you next time.